How'd you become that guy?
I grew up not that guy.
Yeah.
So a lot of people put a title on me. They see me now as the guy that with his shirt off, who can do 4,030 pull-ups in 17 hours, who can run 205 miles in 39 hours, who can do all this crazy shit. But what they don't understand is they don't understand the journey that it took me to get to this point. And what got me to this point was I was just the opposite of what I am today. I was that guy who ran away from absolutely everything that I got in front of me. But not many people knew that. I had two people. Like the real me was like this very scared, insecure, stuttering, got beat up by his dad, all this kind of stuff. And then I built this fake person that walked around like my shit didn't stink, you know?
Right.
Yeah, so that's kind of how I did it. My dad beat the shit out of me when I was growing up. I was the first black baby born in this hospital called Miller Fillmore in Buffalo, New York. My dad owned skating rinks, he owned bars, he ran prostitutes from Canada to Buffalo, New York. My dad was a big time pimp, big time, anything bad about a person, big time hustler, he was that kind of guy. And beat the shit out of me, beat the shit out, out of my mom. There was an incident one time when my mom got knocked out on top of the stairs and he drug her down the stairs by her hair. And at 6 years old, I'll never forget this. In my mind, I was always afraid. My whole life I was afraid, but I had this fucking voice, this conscience that would always be battling me, saying, hey, you gotta get up and do something. I didn't want to do shit. I was just afraid, but that voice would force me to get up, and I have a big time learning disability because my dad didn't believe in us going to school. So when I went to school, I was all kind of, my learning disability, I had social anxiety. I was just a jacked up kid from living in this tortured home. So all the insecurities I had when I was a kid with my father, I moved into this area here and it just got worse and worse and worse. And it haunted me. And that voice that I talked about, it kept talking louder and louder and louder, but I was doing nothing about it. And I decided to make moves. From the age of 19 to the age of 22, I gained 125 pounds. In that time frame, I went from 175 to almost 300 to 297 was my heaviest. And I started finding things that was comfortable. And the more things I found comfortable, the more uncomfortable my mind was. Because that voice I was telling you about, it always was there. I was just trying to avoid that conscience. I wanted to be left alone from that conscience, and it wouldn't leave me alone. And what changed, I came home and watched this Discovery Channel show, Class 224. I came home from Steak and Shake. I sprayed it down last, get a big old large 42-ounce shake, walk across the street and get a box of mini donuts from 7-Eleven, and I would drive home for 45 minutes. This big old fat guy who, yeah, I worked out, but I was fat. I didn't run, didn't PT, I just hit the gym. So driving home, turn the TV on, and what comes on, the Discovery Channel show, and that's where everything changed for me. I watched the show, and it made me reflect big time on the piece of shit that I am, and I'm exactly what people said I was gonna be. I was watching these guys going through Hell Week, Class 224, and these guys ringing the bell, quitting, dropping their helmet down, rolling out, a lot of guys just leaving. And it made me reflect on my fears, my insecurities, and I saw real men, what I thought were real men who were staying, who were overcoming adversity, who were overcoming all these different things that I had blamed so many fucking people in my life, my dad, my mom for not being there. When I was 14 years old, my mom was gonna get remarried to this great guy. He got murdered. And then I moved back to that small town in Brazil, and everybody was to blame. My learning disability, my skin color, me being everything. And so I sat there for a while, and I was like, man, I got it. No one's gonna fucking come to help me. No one's gonna fucking come to help me. It's fucking me against me, period. And so I had to man up. And I said, the first thing I gotta start doing is facing every fucking fear I have. No matter what the fuck it is, man. And these things would keep me up. And people who are hearing this, they will never really understand and grasp when you face these things and so many things, how they keep you up and haunt you at night. So I started calling recruiters up. I said, I'm gonna go be a Navy SEAL. And every recruiter, so there's a weight and height and height limit to get in the military. And I was 6'1" and 297. And I had prior service, which was a big deal. So I called all these recruiters up, and all of them said, hey, how tall are you, blah, 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 blah. They got into conversation to see if I was even qualified. And by the time I got to my weight, phone would hang up pretty much like, hey, you know what, call somebody else, try to get in the reserves. So I tried to get in the reserves. And I called this guy named Steven Salgio, recruiter, up. And he said, hey, come on in. He saw me, put me through the weight standard, all this other stuff. And to get into the class I had to lose 106 pounds in less than 3 months. So I was like, fuck that, I can't do that. I grabbed my chocolate milkshake and went back to Ecolab. I'm going back to work, man. This is my life. So in this job, you're looking for cockroaches, looking for rodents and stuff like that. And this next morning or this next night, I went to work and I don't like cockroaches too much. I hit the mother load of cockroaches. And this restaurant got full of cockroaches and rodents and everything else. And I sat there and I said, this is my life. I said, this is my life. You are exactly who the fuck. This is it. And I said, this ain't gonna be it for me. So in that restaurant, I quit my job, left my canister in that restaurant, my spray canister, got back in my Ecolab truck, and I went home. And I started working out like somebody. I became the most obsessed person on the planet Earth. So my first run, when I decided to lose the weight, I was, like I said, 297. I was about 32% body fat. And my idea was to run 4 miles for my first run. I didn't know how bad it's gonna hurt me. I used to run before I was fat, and I was like, fuck it, I can do this. I ran a 1/4 mile and walked home. I walked home, sat on my couch and cried. I went to my mom's house, who was about maybe 20 minutes down the road, and cried again in her couch, saying, man, I can't fucking do this. I don't know what I'm gonna do. My life was just I was making $1,000 a month. My rent was $810 a month, and my mind just kept fucking with me. And kept fucking, you're not good enough, man. This isn't for you, man. These guys are the baddest motherfuckers on the planet Earth. You're not that. And what it was, and it's kind of funny, I was obsessed with Rocky 1 in particular. And when I was a kid, I'd come home every day and I watched this fucking show, Rocky. And I would fast forward with the little VHS tapes to round 14. Round 14 fucked me up like nobody's business. Why? This song came on. When I bought the pull-up record, I listened to the song for 17 hours. It's 2 minutes and 13 seconds. I'm able to visualize and dream like nobody's business. And I know that I can create a vision that many people can't. And I work for it. So the vision I had was when Apollo Creed beat the fucking shit out of Rocky, beat the shit out of him, he kept fighting. He was a dumb fighter, couldn't read, that was me. Couldn't read, couldn't write, just punchy, everything about him. And Apollo beat the shit out of him. He was in that corner and everybody was saying, stay the fuck down. And him getting up, Apollo Creed raised his arms up in the fucking air, turned around, thought he won the fight. He turns around and sees this guy getting up, and it was the face of Apollo Creed that changed my life. The face of Apollo Creed. It was like, just by that motherfucker getting up, not winning, just by him getting the fuck up, Apollo Creed was champ, he's the best. Rocky had taken his soul. Had literally taken his soul. His head goes down, he looks at him like, what the fuck are you? I wanted to be that, not Rocky. I wanted to be the guy that people looked at. I don't care if you like me or didn't like, I don't care. But said, this motherfucker is gonna keep coming after whatever the fuck is in front of him. I kept picturing me falling down and getting up, and every motherfucker that called me nigger, I was dumb. Even myself, I wanted to feel something besides defeat. I wanted to just go the distance. And that going the distance pushed me to a point of where now I go way past the distance. I say what if a lot. It sounds corny and it sounds weak, but it's true. I was like, man, what story would it be if my fucking fat, dumb, lying to be friends with people, insecure ass can overcome this shit? And that what if mentality, like that dreamer mentality, just would always fuel me. It would just fuel me, man. What if I can be a SEAL, man? What if I can go from running 1/4 fucking mile, now I run 205 miles. What if I can go? What if I can go? How would that feel? To go from this fat, insecure motherfucker to one of the best guys on the planet Earth. This journey is gonna take something that is gonna be incomprehensible to most people. These different visualizations, how I visualize in my self-talk, it became so nasty and dirty that I almost liked the fact that I went 0.25. So it became from being defeated to like, man, all right, motherfucker, maybe tomorrow we can go 0.75. It just became this different mindset. I turned negatives into positives. So I would take it like, who would even think about doing this? So I would sit on my couch saying, who at 297, who can't fucking swim that great, who's scared of the fucking water, would have the fucking balls? Who had the balls to fucking man up, quit a job, and go and just put everything on himself? No one would do this shit. No one would do this shit. You're the baddest motherfucker around. You're the baddest motherfucker ever lived. And I just kept fueling me with the right kind of message that I needed to hear that I was never telling myself. And through time, it became reality to myself. But I started realizing I can't run that far.
Right.
So what I did was I became damn near a professional cyclist with the miles I put on the bike. So whenever I watched TV, I had to be doing something. So I was riding the bike. I rode a bike a lot to lose the first initial kind of weight because my bones were just hurting so bad. My body was just broken. And I learned to get over that also. And I tried to swim a lot. I wasn't a great swimmer, but putting fins on kind of equalized my body. I wasn't so negative buoyant. So I started finning a whole bunch. And I spent hours in the pool, trying to get more and more comfortable. Not because I was going underwater. I was so scared of the water that I had to live in the water. I had to become one with the water. So going to the pool used to scare me. So I went to the pool an awful lot. And then the bike got easier. I was able to run more. I went from like 1 mile. 1 mile was a great accomplishment. 2 miles. And then from 2 to 3 was a big one. Then I went from 3 to 6. And then like they have a warning order that they give people to get ready for buds. And the whole thing was running 6 miles 5 days a week. And that was my goal. And so I failed, I go back to scratch. I use some positive motivation. I have like one day where I'm like fucking defeated. But I started realizing this is part of the process. This is part of the journey. I had to realize this is part of my process versus just saying, like I used to, I'm just not good enough. If I'm not good enough, we always say that I'm just not good enough, and then we try something else. I'm gonna fucking make myself good enough. And that became my mentality. I'm gonna make myself good enough. And I started realizing through this process, the fucking mind is what you created. And I started opening different doors that I didn't think were even there, that I didn't think even existed. And the more doors I opened up, the more I started realizing that my potential is damn near endless.
Why is the truth so important?
Because first of all, it does set you free mentally. And it gives you a starting point. You have to have the truth to have a starting point. So when you, like, if I'm lying to you about who I am, or I'm lying to you about whatever, there's no starting point. There's a false reality. Right. You have to create the real reality. So that's what I call my accountability mirror in my book. That's the real reality. Where the fuck am I gonna start from? So for me, I was lying to this, lying about that. So I had no starting point. Once you come face to face with who you are, you have a starting point. All right, I'm not real smart. I have no courage. I have no self-esteem. I have no nothing. That's my starting point. Now we can move from there. But if I tell myself I'm strong, I have courage, I'm smart, and all these are lies, you continuously push that starting point backwards. So that starting point is the truth. The no fucking bullshit truth that only you can tell yourself. If you are not a good individual, so team is everything. But in that team, let's say a boat crew of 6 people, you have to be a very strong individual. Mm-hmm. And don't always look to be led.
Right.
And when times are fucking disgustingly hard, that's when that's what I learned. Mm-hmm. I learned it's those times when even the hardest motherfuckers in the world are looking around for guidance. It's that one motherfucker. Mm-hmm. Be that one motherfucker.
Be that guy.
Be that one motherfucker. When even you're saying to yourself, boy, this fucking sucks. I don't want to be here right now. And you're looking at all the guys' eyes around you, and you've seen it.
Yeah, oh yeah.
The eyes just go down like, man, we're getting the fuck out of here. This is brutal. Be that guy who finds the fucking courage and say, you know what, man?
Let's do this.
Let's do this. So that's that's the one big thing I learned. Be that one out of the warriors. Be the one motherfucker that says, fuck it. I had to remind myself that these calluses on my hands come from hard work. And the second your hands get soft, everything else gets soft with
Stand
it.
by.
Stand by. It's coming. So what I learned is like you can have too much. You can't have too much, and your mind goes with it. I said if I graduate SEAL training, I may start the process of doing that. Went there, had to lose 100 pounds really fast. So my idea was to go out and run 4 miles the next day as fast as I can to start losing weight. I got to a quarter of a mile and walked home. I realized that all those insecurities, when things got hard for me, those insecurities came back. I had to do a live autopsy on myself to figure out what was causing these insecurities to constantly come back, constantly roost in my head, constantly dominate my every thought. Every time something got bad, every time something got hard, these things would always come back and haunt me. I had to figure it out and overcome it. So when I tell people, hey, stop listening to music for a little bit, put your phone down, put the computer down, really focus. The most powerful weapon is your brain. It relates to them. They're like, oh man, yeah. We weren't raised on this. They can kind of go back in the dungeon, but these millennials grew up with all this technology and all this noise. It's so fucking noisy out here that they can't hear themselves think. So the people who really get the most bang out of my message, even though millennials follow me the most, are people who are from 30s to 50s. Because they're like, you know what, man? Yeah, I fucking get that. Yeah. I remember back when I was a better human being before I started being dependent on my phone and dependent on this and dependent on that. And literally, you can't even have a conversation with somebody nowadays because their minds are so out of it.
Or they're checking the Instagram.
Yeah, man. So they're like looking at you and their phone and they're here. And then as you're having a serious conversation, an enlightening conversation, they then come out of nowhere and say, hey, did you hear about Trump? You're like, what the f*** is your problem, man? You can't hold a fucking attention span for longer than 15 seconds. That's why you're not successful. It takes a lot longer than 15 seconds to be focused on becoming rich, becoming a better person, becoming smarter, becoming more athletic, losing weight. It takes time. Your mind needs to be focused on that fucking task. One thing important is that we all have these moments in time that either make you or break you, that can determine the rest of your life. The rest of your life can be determined by one simple decision. 19 years ago, 300 pounds, I was spraying for cockroaches. I made a decision to try to be a Navy SEAL. My whole goal was to go on this path every day after work and to run a mile to a mile and a half. This rock was about the 0.5 mark in my run. This rock was a moment that should have broken me. I got 0.5 into it. I weighed 297 pounds. I sat on this rock and I had a decision to make. I wanted to quit. I wanted to give up. There wasn't some inspirational quote. There wasn't nothing. It was me, myself, and it was freezing out here. I had to make a decision. The decision I made was to get up and keep on going. That one moment changed the rest of my life. So everybody goes, how do you do that? You know exactly how to do that. You know exactly. It's not a magic trick. There's nothing I talk about in that book that's a magic trick. It's all back down to a very primitive mindset of we just have to do. It's like breathing. Breathing becomes normal. Like we don't even know that we're doing it. That's how you have to live your life. When that alarm clock goes off at 4 or 5 in the morning, your mind says no. You just say, this is what we do. It's what we do now. Because to get to where you want to go, the amount of pain involved, I'm not saying physical, I'm not saying you got to break yourself off. The amount of mental pain of how many times you're going to have to do something that you don't want to do to get to where you want to go is going to be, there's going to be more times you do something that you don't want to do than you are going to want to do it. That's your new norm. So then it's like breathing. And then once you do this over and over and over again, it becomes like breathing. But to get to the other side of this, I have to. So if you really want it, you realize what trying is and what trying is not. So that's how my mind works. It works that way to see, where is this going to take me? What's the possibility?
And all of that you learned from your own brain. You didn't Google this shit. No. You didn't buy books.
It didn't exist. This shit didn't exist. I couldn't even spell Google back then. This shit didn't exist, man. What existed for me was, okay, man, how am I gonna fucking make this work? And all I knew back then was hard work. The only way anything gets accomplished, that's all I heard back in those days. You gotta work hard. You gotta work hard. I'm not getting I can't get this paragraph. I can't remember what the fuck's in this paragraph to pass this test to get in the military. Read it again. Still not getting it. Read it again. But if you're not getting it, write it out. And that's how I started learning. Okay, well, I gotta write out every fucking thing I do. And then write it out again, and write it out again. And guess what happened? I got it. I can't swim. I'm negative buoyant. Go back again. I can't swim. Go back again. Go back again. I got it. I realized if I keep going back and going back and going back until the shit just becomes, your mind will say, fuck, okay, we're gonna figure it out, because he is not going to stop. It's not like, I'm gonna try one more time. No, it's just like, alarm clock goes off, boop, we're going back. I gave myself no way out, and my mind realized that. They said, okay, we're gonna adapt and overcome now. And that's how you get through things. You immerse yourself wherever it is, and you become that. You become that and give yourself no way out. If you can't say that, you need to start rewriting another book.
Yeah.
And people change off of hard work, dedication, sacrifice, and suffering. That's where that change comes from.
Right.
Taking souls comes with a very particular look. And in competition, you're looking to break the other person down. And in breaking that person down, what happens to that person who's being broke down, they have an empty look in their eyes. I call it, you've taken their soul. You own space in their head. And owning space in their head means they're unable to perform at their best now because they're thinking about you. For instance, let's say there's a boxing match, 12 rounds, going at it, heavyweight champion. This guy's getting his ass kicked for 11 rounds. For 11 rounds, he continues to get back up and get back up and get back up. By that 12th round, the guy who's been beating the guy's ass, you're gonna start to see a certain look on his face. His soul is leaving. If you can spot that look while you're getting your ass beat, you'll win the fight. Life is one big tug of war, and you don't win that tug of war by pushing the fucking rope. You have to pull that motherfucker. And a lot of times you have to pull yourself through life. This morning, I did not want to get up, so I had to pull my ass out of fucking bed. But guess what? The more and more I got into that run, each fucking step into that run, I started gaining more and more confidence. But to gain that fucking confidence, you have to fucking be willing to pull yourself out of bed, pull yourself out of a funk, pull yourself out of whatever the fuck life is throwing at you to gain that confidence. By the fucking time the run was over, I was like, fuck you, motherfucker. I once again beat your ass. You gotta be willing to find the confidence. Stay in the fight, stay in the war, stay in the battle, armor your mind. Because everything is about mindset. It's about mindset. So I would definitely tell them to work on themselves. A lot of us work on ourselves at a surface level. I would tell them to dive deep, because we all have demons. We all come from something. So some people know my story. I'm very open about how I came up, how I grew up, and I really detail it really big in my book. It's called Can't Hurt Me. I really detail it big in there about how I came up and also how I developed my mindset. But a lot of us work on surface. You have to work on what really drives you, what are some of your problems in life, because when you go to the military will definitely expose some of those issues, and they will make you quit, and they will make you start to question why I'm even here. So handle those things before you go in the military, and the military will kind of fine-tune who you are. So the one thing I learned is to not lose that thing, that boot camp, SEAL training, whatever you go through, whatever your A school is, whatever it is, keep that discipline up. That's the biggest thing. So I got a great question. Question was, I'm working my ass off, but I'm not seeing results. What we do is we go on social media, and that shit poisons us. We have all these fit models that we're taking these snapshots of. Snapshot these great legs, great ass. If you're a guy, big arms, big shoulders, big chest, all this bullshit. Take that middle snapshot. We start working our ass off for weeks, for months. We don't see results, so we get all pissed off. Those results are there. But what you've done is you take that mental snapshot and you're not seeing the results of that fitness model, that person you want to be. Half of us don't even have that in our bodies to look like that. So what you want to do is take a mental snapshot of how you looked before and where you're at now. That's what you want to do in life. Compare yourself against yourself. Don't get poisoned by bullshit. Stay hard. I realized that life isn't fair. It's not fair. And you better figure out some tools and some ways to stop feeling sorry for yourself, because no one is coming to rescue you. No one feels sorry for you.
Right.
And at the end of the day, no one really cared about me. That's how it felt. That was the reality of it. And my big thing is, if you're not changing your life, you're not doing shit with your life. And if you were on your deathbed, and let's say you sat down and no one knew who Mark Divine was. No one knew you from Adam. But you've been writing a book in this journal right here for the last, let's say you die at 90 years old, and you're in a hospital, and a kid comes in to see Mark Divine. You don't know the kid doesn't know you, just came in to see him. And you gave the kid a book about your life. Would that book change his life for the better? If anybody out there knows who I am, I totally disagree with all of that crap. I think it's crap, and that's exactly how the people in the world become weaker people. It's by capping your brain. It's by putting this kind of garbage in it about not attacking what you're not good at. It's about putting a cap on managing your expectations. If I lived that way, if I had any kind of thought process like managing expectations, I would be a 400-pound man by now, working some job that made no money, and I would never know my capabilities. I would never have become a Navy SEAL. People are f***ing hilarious. They are so threatened and jealous and insecure, and every word in between all that. When I was fat and lazy and insecure, struggling in school, struggling in life, people were giving me all this advice, trying to help me out. Well, I went on the other side of the spectrum. I lost weight, I got in shape, I started studying, I started becoming one of the hardest working people out there, and guess what? They still had shit to say. They had shit to say when I was fat, they had shit to say when I lost weight. People don't want to see you better than them. That's what it comes down to. You make them feel good about themselves when you're fat and lazy, and you make them feel like shit when you come from the depths of hell and decide to fucking make it. There's enough food and pie for everybody to eat. Don't hate a motherfucker because he worked harder than you. When you're afraid of something, you have to master it. That's how you start to overcome it. So what I realized, when I get to that point where I want to quit, everybody, they get to the point where they want to quit. This is what happens. The mind tells you, let's go home. Let's take a warm shower. Let's get some food. This is not right. This is that. If you cannot answer the questions at that moment, because your mind's gonna start giving you all these questions. And if you can't answer them, you're going to quit. What I realized when I was going through BUD/S, Ranger School, all this 100-mile race, 200-mile races, pull-up records, my mind would come creeping in. Like when I was doing 4,030 pull-ups at 2,000 pull-ups and my hands were ripped open, my mind said, look, brother, we've done all these other things. You've proven yourself. You're good. If I didn't have the answer to respond to my mind and say why I'm here, why I'm doing this, you will always lose that fight. You have to have the response to what your mind is going to tell you. And another thing about that is self-talk. A lot of people have like these big four on mental toughness. All that is crap about self-talk, visualization. It's true. But the thing about self-talk and all these things, they ask me, what do you think about when you're on mile 100 of a 205-mile run? What are you thinking about when you realize you've run for 24 hours and you have 24 more hours to run and you have another 105 miles? What goes through your mind? What do you say to yourself? I want to know. A lot of people think self-talk works. It does, but it doesn't work without the suffering before your mind starts saying we need self-talk. So what I tell myself is I go back to the months and years of preparation to get to that day. And I'm telling myself, the 3:30 in the morning, and I'm looking at my shoes and I want to go out there and run 30 miles. I have to, in that second, in that moment of this self-talk, my mind saying, you got to find more, you got to find more. I once again calm down, go back into my mind, in my cookie jar, I call it, and I have to reflect back on the shit I did to get here. And that becomes my self-talk. Self-talk does not work unless it is real. In life, once you leave your house, the war begins. In your house, you have some control. And that reflection in the mirror, you have to control that reflection in the mirror. That's how you start your day. If you leave your house feeling like, okay, I can fight. I've established the mentality to fight. And all that comes from working out. It's not just from, you can't find that in the office. Most of us live our entire lives avoiding failure. It's funny. I walk around, people come up to me and they say, man, you're that Navy SEAL, you went through Ranger School, you were, Air Force TAC P, you did the pull-up record, you run all these ultra races, all this shit, man. The funny thing about it that I think about is this. They know that part of me. This is the part I know about myself. I failed the ASVAB test to get in the military 3 times. In the Air Force, failed at pararescue. In the SEALs, it took me 3 times to get through Navy SEAL training. The pull-up record took me 3 times. This is what I know about me. So what I'm saying is this. You can't live your life being afraid to fail. All those failures made me the success in the day. Stay hard, stay in the fight. But the one thing I'm most scared of in the world is losing touch with the best thing in the world is your mind. Your mindset, how you can picture yourself, how you can focus, how you can drive, how you can put yourself in so many situations to get out of it. Because those headphones we listen to, those phones that we Google to find information, there's so many situations in my life where that shit's not gonna help me. I've seen a lot of great men, strong men quit. And I'd ask them, how'd they train? And they say, I swam, I ran, did all these things. And the one thing they never talk about is the mental aspect of it. So you put a person who's physically trained in a mentally tough situation and things happen real bad. What that means is, you put a guy in cold water and he's physically trained and he's not mentally trained about all of his insecurities in life and everything else he hasn't dealt with. He's gonna make up a lot of excuses on why he needs to quit something. And he's gonna wonder why, what happened? I trained so hard. I physically trained so hard. But that mental aspect of everything is the most important thing. So don't set your goals and everything without making sure you set your mind right and handle your insecurities. So that was my mindset. So I went to the dungeon and started using all my insecurities as strength. Instead of looking at being bullied and my dad messing me up and all that stuff like that, I looked at it as, who could have survived all this and still be here with the opportunity to go to Navy SEAL training? And so I started using all these negative things and started flipping everything on top of its head. Instead of saying, woe is me, kicking rocks, head down in the dirt, I started saying, there's not a motherfucker on the planet who would have this opportunity coming from where I came from. They would be a statistic.
Yeah.
So I started looking at it as power versus like big time defeat. And slowly but surely, every day, I started changing the voice in my head, because the most important conversation you will ever have is the one you have with yourself.
Yeah.
So I slowly started changing that internal dialogue in my head. And there wasn't no like teacher, there was no shrink, there was no mom saying, hey David, you can do it. No, it was. And that was where the power came from. The power came from, no one's helping me, no one's coming back to save me, no one's coming back to pull me to the finish line. This is on you. So I saw a lot of power in the fact that if I change this around, I did this. I changed this around.
Yeah.
So that's where it all started happening. Life's about improvise, adapt, and overcome in every situation that's in front of you. A lot of people hate that message that I say continue pushing, continue finding your new 100%, continue finding your best self. If you don't like that message, this is not the place to be. I'm about people trying to find the best they have, not making excuses, overcoming any and all obstacles. So today, I can't run. I can't do much. But you can guarantee one thing. David Goggins got the after it. He got the after it. I don't give a if my knees don't work. I'll find something else that does. Stay hard.
But I want to ask you, are mentally tough people born, or do they become it?
I think it's both. I think some are actually born with some genetic freakishness. I was not. And what people do so well with me is that they forget the first fucking 4 chapters of that book. And all they fucking do, as you read, you start to forget shit. And then you start to hear about running on broken legs and fucking all this other shit. And these must be, oh my God, pull-up records and this and that. Fucker, don't forget the first 3-4 chapters when I couldn't read as a junior in high school, when I hid out, where I got called where I got beat so badly that I became afraid of every motherfucker that ever lived on the planet Earth. Everybody. I had to reinvent a human being. I sat at home for so many fucking nights by myself, broken not just physically, mentally, spiritually. I was looking at you yesterday like this. Fuck, I didn't have any of that shit. Mental toughness, strength, power, shit. I'm like, fuck, man, I was fucked up. But then I sat back and said to myself, I invented a mother. One thing about life, it is very unpredictable. But one thing's for damn sure, people are very predictable. So what that means is you can prepare for the assholes of this world. So we are teaching right now anti-bullying. We're trying to change anti-racist. We're trying to change bad people. While in the long term, that may work out. But in the interim, that ain't gonna fly. So for you to continue to complain, get your butt hurt, or for people not liking the way you look, the way you sound, the way you dress, wherever the fuck it may be, you need to change on how you look at those people, what they say to you. You gotta start armoring your mind. Start preparing yourself for what's out here in life. Build confidence, build self-esteem. So when people talk to you, it doesn't fucking matter. So I started learning that if you start to change your mindset versus it being like, oh my God, this sucks, I became a professional bud student. So I wasn't gonna leave until I graduated. So I started realizing if this is my home, this is what I am, I had to always reset the bar. I had to reset my new norm. There always had to be a new norm. So one thing we don't do is we don't have a new norm. My new norm is you get up every fucking morning at 4 o'clock and you suffer. This is your new norm.
So why do you do it?
Because I know that's the only place where growth happens. It's the only place, man. I'll never forget when I was younger and I lived in a $7 place and it fucked up, everything was jacked up. I had a pair of jeans and I'll never forget this as long as I live. You know, first day of school, people go school shopping, right? Week out, 2 weeks out, maybe a month out. We didn't have any money to do that. So I had this pair of jeans that the inside of the pocket was green. I wore them almost every day. So what I did for the next year of school was I cut that pocket out so the green would show, so it looked like a new pair of jeans. All I wanted was money. All I wanted was a nice car, was a nice home. The second I got the fucking money to do it, I realized, bullshit. That's why I don't own a car, I don't own a place, I don't own shit. You will see me wearing the same fucking shit every fucking day. I don't hide none of that, nothing. What I realized is all I wanted in my life was look at that fucker in that accountability mirror and be proud of. And everything else went away. While you need money to be successful, you need money to live, you need money. Money does buy a form of happiness because without it, you're fucking miserable. But once I realized it doesn't mean shit. It doesn't mean shit for me.
What makes you happy?
Achievement, reaching goals, accomplishing things that I thought were impossible to accomplish. Because while I don't smile all the time, there's this feeling inside of me that very few people have. Very few people have. Because when you come from where I came from, nothing, and you make something out of nothing, the feeling stays with you all day fucking long. And it allows you to be who you want to be in front of anybody.